Bakar, welcome back. We're going to have a look back at last game week and we're going to look ahead to game week 4, answer some burning questions that everyone's wondering for their teams, and then we're going to see what your plans are with your team. How was your week?
Decent enough, John. I had 54 points this week. I took a 4-point hit, so ended up with a net score of 50. So far, it's been a steady start for me. It's all been about catching the halls. In game week 1, I had Haaland. In game week 2, it was Jesus. This week, I was lucky enough to have Perisic. It was about time that he delivered. I mean, I started with him in game week 1, had to endure a price drop in game week 2. Very, very grateful that he started and got me 12 points this week, because other than that, it's basically, it makes for very bleak reading.
Yeah, and you've been very bullish on Perisic. I mean, I remember last week you were chatting about Perisic and about how you felt if he did get the start, which looked likely, he was on for a haul, and it happened. He looked amazing.
Absolutely. He got like the highest number of touches in the final third. There were a couple of times where he could have been played in. He made the runs, but they weren't spotted. I think he's a very good pick when he starts. I am aware of the fact that he will have the occasional one pointer, especially now with midweek rotation kicking in. But I can see him starting 2 of the next 3 at least. And if he plays, especially against Forest, which he's expected to, now that Conte has been very bullish about him, he actually basically said that this is the Ivan Perisic I know, and he's looking very good. He's ahead of Cess in the pecking order, etc. So if he starts, then I think he's a very strong option, one of the most explosive assets in the game at this point in time.
Another thing we spoke about last week was captaincy, and you were very on Salah, and I was unfortunately all about Gabriel Jesus. Now, Salah worked out with the 8-pointer for 16 with the captaincy. Jesus with just 4 points. I have to say though, Bakar, I still back my decision. I honestly think my decision was that Arsenal were going to absolutely tear it up, and Arsenal did that. Jesus could have had a couple, but he didn't. And I didn't think that Man United was going to be as easy a game as everyone thought. I say that, I did think Liverpool would walk it, to be honest. I just didn't think Salah would do as well as Jesus. Now, when you look at the two games, I think like Jesus is the guy who you would have wanted as your captain after watching the games. It just, the way the dice fell, Salah got the goal and Jesus didn't. So I stand by the decision, but like on that whole debate, like obviously you're happy you captain Salah, but do you have any empathy for Jesus captainers, or do you think we're idiots?
Absolutely. I mean, this week, Haaland had plenty of chances against Newcastle. There were a few he missed. Pope made a wonderful save to deny him. Um, I think this was one of the weeks where captaincy was split, and it made total sense to opt with someone like a Jesus or Haaland over Salah. I mean, this was one of the weeks where you could actually afford to punt, and I'm actually glad that the difference between Salah and Jesus and Haaland isn't as big as it could have been. So it's only fair. I think it made complete sense on paper, and you were just unlucky to end up on the wrong side of it. I mean, Jesus was millimeters away from scoring a goal which would have been onside. So I mean, there's just fine margins which can go against you.
In pre-season and even till now, everything, all the talk has been about big at the back, big at the back, big at the back. And I am big at the back. I have 5 big defenders. I have the same defense as you, except instead of Perisic, I have Robertson. You know, you got saved by Perisic here, but so many people have been burnt. Like, I think every one of my front 5 got returns of some description, but my back 5 all blanked for either a 0 or 1-pointer. Might have got a 2-pointer in there. Don't even know. Don't even care at this stage. What's ruined that plan? Is it how defensively frail the likes of City and Liverpool have been compared to last season? You know, Chelsea, we talked about it in pre-season about how, you know, the disarray at the club, and they're selling loads of players, and we don't know the crack. We don't know what's going to happen. And obviously Koulibaly there is red carded now for a couple of weeks. I'm starting to get itchy feet. I'm starting to panic with the amount of money I have in defence. When I look at them all, I don't think any of them are going to keep a clean sheet.
I can see why, because the output hasn't been reflective of the price that you've paid. I mean, it's just been that way. And I mean, if Mendy didn't make that error, the result could have been different. I mean, it was just an unfortunate when that happened, and immediately after that, the whole team just collapsed. Liverpool haven't been themselves defensively at all either. I mean, they were giving plenty of chances to United yesterday, and there were numerous occasions where United could have scored even more. Having said that, I mean, if you have the likes of Robertson, Trent, I think you should keep them this week against Bournemouth. Not just Bournemouth. I mean, Liverpool have a very good run of fixtures coming forward as well. And I mean, Trent is ranked first for chances created expected assists, big chance involvements among defenders in the first 3 weeks. So I mean, at this point in time, I have in my team, and I'm just considering him like an attacker. I mean, anything else that he gets is a bonus because his numbers are on par with most of the outfielders in the game. As far as Robertson is concerned, I think he's a bit more of a concern because his attacking numbers aren't as great. He hasn't really been in form. He hasn't really looked impressive as such. And there's this fact which I noticed that Tsimikas has been brought on in the first in the previous 2 games as well, which is a bit of a red flag because that wasn't really happening last season. Robertson was getting 90 minutes every game. So I do think that Tsimikas can come in for Robertson to rotate in a week where there are a lot of fixtures, but I'd still keep Robertson just because his ceiling against Bournemouth, if they keep a clean sheet, is big.
Yeah, so maybe keep one more week and reassess, because I was saying to you off air beforehand, I was half debating getting rid of Robbo to redistribute some cash because I'm feeling quite light elsewhere, but yeah.
I'd also like to. Sorry to interrupt. I'd also like to talk about Chelsea here. You mentioned Cucurella and James. I'd like to give them another couple of games before I assess their defense because this unfortunate event that occurred when Mendy committed the error, the game could have been different had it not happened. And I want to see the game against Leicester in particular because Leicester themselves in their first 3 games they haven't looked impressive at all. There are rumors of Rodgers leaving. They aren't creating too many chances. In each of their 3 games, they've created less than 1 xG. So this is a good clean sheet, I believe. This is a good paper for a good fixture for a clean sheet on paper for Chelsea. So I do believe that this could be a week where the points come for James and Cucurella owners.
Let's hope so. So another question I wanted to throw at you while we're kind of in the realms of the defence, and it's not quite defence, it's goalkeepers. Ward and Iverson at Leicester. You've just mentioned Leicester. 1.1 point, I think it is, for Ward. People getting itchy feet when you're looking at the likes of Ramsdale there, who's got 2 clean sheets under his belt already, and other keepers performing just as well, if not better. So do you pivot from that? I mean, it's hard. Whenever you have 4 million goalkeepers, trying to find cash to upgrade there, it could be tough. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it can be tricky, but if I was in the position, I would sell Iverson in a heartbeat. Simply because I don't see any clean sheet for Leicester in their upcoming fixtures. They have Chelsea, Man United, Brighton, Villa, and Spurs in their next 5. I simply don't see a clean sheet for them over there. And there are other keepers who are performing really well. So you're actually losing out against the rest of the crowd on defensive returns, even if you're saving up on cash. So I don't think that makes a lot of sense to stick with them. I would sell Iverson. I would generate some funds from somewhere and at least 0.5 and use that to upgrade Iverson to Sanchez. Brighton's fixtures look very good. I think at this point in time, if you're looking for a 4.5 keeper, it's Sanchez, because Leicester, John, have not conceded. No team has actually conceded fewer big chances than Brighton this season, and they've looked incredible. They've just conceded one big chance this season, and their fixtures from now on in, I mean, Leeds, Fulham, Leicester, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, it doesn't really get better than that for a solid defense. And I initially this season, I was of the opinion that with the loss of Bissouma, they could be affected adversely, but they're just a system-based team, and they tend to be very organized, which is why they're doing well in terms of defensive returns. And with the fixtures in their favor, I expect that to continue.
I have another question for you, and it's going over to Leeds. Rodrigo. Now, Rodrigo for me was on the hit list last week, and I was very, very close to bringing him in. I forget what I was going to do. I think I was going to go Grealish out, Rodrigo in, and I would also have had the cash then to bring Bailey up to Pascal Gross. I was doing something like that. But what put me off was Rodrigo's Chelsea fixture, which is a real shame. But now that that's out of the way and he's excelled in that fixture, he has to be sort of top of the hit list for so many people going forward. Like, is he the real deal? Like, is he going to keep producing?
I mean, he surprised me this season with his consistency, because at the start of the season, I did think his minutes would be a bit of a concern. But I do think that Bamford's injury has actually played into his hands as well, because his minutes are now more secure. He's likely to be on penalties. And his underlying statistics are actually very impressive. He's among midfielders, he's been second for XG, second for big chance involvements, actually first for non-penalty XG and shots inside the box. So he's looking really good. If you're looking to buy him, I would definitely consider him to be a much more let's say must buy after this week, because this week I think it's a tough fixture against Brighton. I've just mentioned their defensive statistics. They're doing really well this season. and the fact that John, Leeds struggled historically against Brighton. When you look at their previous four fixtures, when Brighton have played under Potter, I mean, Leeds. These are the four results I have in front of me: Leeds 0-1 Brighton, Brighton 2-0 Leeds, Brighton 0-0 Leeds, Leeds 1-1 Brighton. So basically, Leeds have scored like once in their previous four fixtures against Brighton. So those stats are telling, and that those tell me that his ceiling, Rodrigo's ceiling this week isn't as great, just because of the fixture that they have. So if you're looking to buy him, I mean, I have no qualms in bringing him in this week, but I won't go out of the way to buy him. Let me put it that way. I think he's much more of a better buy next week.
We'll move on up to the strikers. We haven't really spoke about them yet. There's a few different things going on up there. Ivan Toney's obviously looking great, but a big thing that I see people talking about is pivoting back from Haaland to Kane. A lot of people kind of shot the bed with Kane, went to Haaland. Then, of course, Kane scored against Chelsea. And now they're on Haaland and they're thinking, oh, Haaland could be rotated very soon. I think Pep Guardiola has literally said as much.
Yeah.
They're all thinking of going back to Kane. Do you think that's viable? Obviously, City have some lovely fixtures coming up.
Not in game week 4. I don't think in game week 4 I'd make that move, because I notice a lot of people have 2 free transfers and they're looking to get a differential and move ahead of the pack. I do think Kane is an excellent option this week. Actually, Forest have conceded a lot of XG in their first 3 games, and their defense isn't all that great. I do expect Spurs to perform well. Having said that, I mean, Haaland is in the top players in the league when it comes to the underlying attacking statistics, XG, shots inside the box. He's right up there for each one of these statistics. So I personally think it's too big of a risk. Even this week against Newcastle, which is supposed to be a tricky fixture on paper, he had like 4 big chance involvements, and I believe his captains were extremely unlucky not to have gotten a double-digit return out of this fixture. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Haaland outscore Kane, despite the fact that Kane has Forest this week. However, this is a move that could be on the cards after this week, because, like you say, Pep has basically said that Haaland can't play 3 games in a row in a week. So there could be a chance that he misses out in game week 5, which is the midweek fixture.
Yeah, and with Haaland's amazing record in the Champions League, and obviously the priority Man City will want to put on that, I think, especially after the likes of Liverpool's slow start and whatever else. I can't see Haaland missing the Champions League, so he's going to be rotated in the Premier League. We all know that. So yeah, you'll be dodging bullets there. You'll be biting your nails waiting for the lineups to come out. So I don't know if I'm in for that. And that leads me on to another thing, because when I look at my team, for example, big at the back, I've already expressed my concerns about the likes of Robbo, even the Chelsea defence. Albeit maybe a little premature there. I don't have the likes of Rodrigo. I don't have an easy move to him. I kind of want Kevin De Bruyne somehow, but I don't know how I can do that. And obviously rotation becomes an issue there as well. There's a load of things I want to change. There's a load of things I want to do, Bakar. But I can't do all that unless maybe I pop a certain little wild card that I've got in the back pocket. Is it? I don't think I'm realistically going to do it. I won't do it this week, maybe looking past next week. But ultimately, the question is this: is it too early? It's never too early. I'm going to come out and say I'm answering my question.
It depends on your team.
It's never too early. But
I mean, if your team is completely decimated and you don't have any other option but to significantly improve your squad with a wild card, then of course it makes sense. But I've looked at your team, John, and plenty of other template teams on social media as well. The template team is very strong at the moment. I just don't see enough value addition in wildcarding right now, because the players you would have in your wildcard team and the players you can get at the cost of, let's say, a 4-point hit or 8-point hit are more or less the same. So there's very little value addition that you're getting, except for the fact that you might avoid 1 or 2 hits. I would personally suggest that you should wait right now before wildcarding. Maybe there will be a more of a case to build for it once the midweek congestion kicks in, because then more players will be prone to rotation, and obviously there might be an urgent need to sell some of them. At this point in time, I think most teams are fairly settled, and even if it takes a hit or two to get the acquired team that you want, then I will save the wildcard and take the hits.
Well, Bakar, they're all our big questions for the week, but we have yet to look at your team going into next week. So we already looked at how you got on last week, that 54 points with a 4-point hit for a net of 50. Let's have a look at your team going into game week 4. So, Bakar, if you didn't touch your team from last week, according to my team, you're predicted to score 74.5 points this week, game week rating of 94%, and an overall team rating looking ahead up to 5 weeks ahead of 96%. So it looks like you're pretty well set. You have a lot of nice fixtures. You've obviously got the captaincy choice everyone's going to want. I don't know what you could possibly want to change.
Yeah, I think I'm very set on saving the transfer unless any injury or something comes up in midweek. The plan is to save a transfer moving into next week, because I think next week could be chaos with midweek, and I would advise a lot of teams who can afford to save the transfer to save the transfer this week, because next week, I mean, you would want to be in a position where you have two free transfers to tackle any midweek rotation that may occur, because you don't want to be exposing yourself to too many hits by making unnecessary transfers.
And Mo Salah is predicted to score 9.3 points against Bournemouth. That is a lot. I think that could be one of the most I've seen on the My Team tool. So
Yeah,
he's your captain.
I'm very sure about Salah captain this week. I watched Bournemouth against Arsenal. They were, I mean, frankly speaking, they were terrible. And Salah being Salah, with being a midfielder, he's going to get an extra point for a goal, clean sheet. I just think he has a higher ceiling than Haaland this week, which is why I have him as captain.
If we look ahead to even next week, your team rating goes down to 91%. You've still got some cracking players, some cracking fixtures. In fact, to be honest with you, there isn't a fixture there that would worry me. Even if you didn't make a move, your team looks stronger into game week 5. And then I'm just ticking on through.
The Chelsea boys, they could potentially be a bit of a factor next week to reconsider, because I'm using this week to reassess the Chelsea guys, especially Cucurella, because I want to see where he plays, whether Chelsea look defensively solid again. Then there's Haaland, who might be at risk of rotation. There's Perisic, who might be at risk of rotation. So that is why I want to have two free transfers heading into that Game Week 5 squad, because even though it looks good on paper, you never quite know. And on one thing, which is I am aware of it, is I have a weak bench. I mean, Pereira is fine to come on, but I'm not going to expect points from him week in, week out. So ideally, I want to be in a situation where I don't have to play him.
You look great. You look great going forward, Bakar. Best of luck. Well, if you want to give the My Team tool a crack, click the link below and you can head over and try it out for free. And if you do decide to sign up, again, please use that link in the description. There's 30% off at the minute if you decide to sign up. We'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.